What if Qui-Gon Jinn trained Anakin Skywalker? To understand why this question really matters, we have to go back to Star Wars Episode 1 of the Phantom Menace, all the way to the planet of Naboo. Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi duel Darth Maul in what becomes one of the most important lightsaber fights in the entire Star Wars saga. During the fight, Qui-Gon is separated from Obi-Wan Kenobi and Maul stabs him straight through the chest. Obi-Wan continues the fight and eventually cuts down Darth Maul, defeating him. Obi-Wan then rushes back to Qui-Gon, and before he dies, Qui-Gon asks Obi-Wan to promise him that Anakin Skywalker will be trained. After that, Obi-Wan Kenobi becomes Anakin's master. Anakin is trained within the Jedi Order, grows up during the Clone Wars, and eventually falls to the dark side of the Force. That sequence of events is why the duel on Naboo matters so much. The duel is called Duel of the Fates for a reason. So, what if this never happened? What if Qui-Gon Jinn survived and ended up training Anakin Skywalker? Before we dive into this, 96% of you guys are not subscribed. What are you doing? Make sure you subscribe. With that all being said, let's dive right into this. We begin at the exact breaking point of the prequels on Naboo, the plasma refinery. Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Darth Maul. During the fight, Qui-Gon Jinn adjusts his approach. He uses his environment and Maul's aggression against him. Qui-Gon eventually defeats Maul, slicing him in half. Maul ends up falling down the reactor shaft and disappears from sight. Qui-Gon Jinn immediately regroups with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the two leave together. Maul is defeated and presumed dead, and Qui-Gon Jinn ultimately survives the duel. That single change is where everything begins to shift in our timeline. Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Anakin all return to Coruscant together. The Jedi Council is unsettled. A Sith has revealed himself after centuries, and the Council is forced to confront the fact that they completely failed to sense the Sith's return. For generations, the Sith were believed to be extinct, and now the assumption is clearly wrong. The discussion quickly turns to Anakin Skywalker. Qui-Gon argues that Anakin should be trained because he believes that the boy is the chosen one. How can you not sense it? He points to the prophecy and to Anakin's unprecedented connection in the Force, and the fact that the boy was born of no father. This is all proof of something that the Jedi simply cannot ignore. In Qui-Gon's view, the Force itself has brought Anakin Skywalker to them for a single reason: to bring balance to the Force. The Council resists. Yoda senses great danger in Anakin's training. Others question whether the prophecy is being misread at this point in time, or whether acting on it could lead the Order down the wrong path. Qui-Gon listens to them, but he does not waver in his stance. He makes it clear that he intends to train Anakin Skywalker regardless of the Council's wishes, believing that denying the Chosen One guidance would be a greater risk than training him. After further debate in the Jedi Council and a private conversation with Qui-Gon Jinn and Yoda, the Council agrees. Though hesitant, they allow Anakin to be trained under Qui-Gon's supervision, accepting that the prophecy cannot simply be dismissed. Obi-Wan at this point is given the rank of Jedi Knight after proving he is worthy, and Anakin Skywalker becomes Qui-Gon Jinn's responsibility and apprentice. Qui-Gon's training with Anakin focuses on awareness and balance. He teaches Anakin Skywalker to pay attention to what he's feeling in the moment and how it connects to the Force around him. Instead of rushing past fear and frustration, Qui-Gon slows things down completely for Anakin. He encourages Anakin to recognize those feelings and then let them go before they can take control, not letting his emotions dominate him. Much of his training centers on the living Force, staying present in the moment, listening, and responding to what the Force is doing now rather than worrying about what might happen later. That approach suits Anakin perfectly. It gives him something practical to hold on to, instead of the abstract rules of the Jedi Council like we see in the Star Wars prequels. As a result of all this, Anakin becomes much more open. He talks to Qui-Gon about his mother, and his anger, and his nightmares, everything that worries him. Those conversations make a real difference in how Anakin handles things. Over time, Anakin develops a better sense of balance. He's still intense and emotional, but he understands how to step back before those emotions turn into quick action. That understanding shapes how he grows as a Jedi and changes the path that he's on. Far from Coruscant, Maul survives exactly as he does in canon. Somehow his rage keeps him alive, eventually resurfacing as a twisted being, having metal spider legs, broken, and he's a complete maniac. But this time, something is really different. He does not obsess over Obi-Wan like we see in canon, but instead he obsesses over Qui-Gon Jinn. With Qui-Gon still alive, events begin to move differently behind the scenes. Count Dooku has already grown disillusioned with the Jedi Order. He has lost faith in the Council, he questions the Republic and their motives, and he's begun listening to Darth Sidious. By this point, he is close to fully committing himself to the dark side of the Force, but not quite there yet. Sidious tells him what happened on Naboo. Qui-Gon Jinn survived, Darth Maul is believed dead, and Sidious gives Dooku his final task. If Dooku wants to move forward, if he wants to fully embrace his new path, he must kill his old apprentice, Qui-Gon Jinn. This is the final step for Count Dooku to become Sidious's true apprentice, but Dooku simply refuses. Qui-Gon is not just another Jedi to him, he was his student, the one Jedi who embodied the ideals Dooku believed the Order had abandoned. Killing Qui-Gon isn't a strategy or a necessity, it's a completely senseless death. Dooku calls it madness. Sidious presses him, the Jedi must be eliminated, loose ends cannot be tolerated. If Qui-Gon lives, he becomes a problem. That's when Dooku realizes what his path actually demands. There is no compromise. Dooku makes his choice. He will not kill Qui-Gon Jinn, and if that means standing alone against his master, Darth Sidious, so be it. The confrontation turns very violent very quickly. Dooku ignites his blade, the duel is brief and brutal. Sidious is simply stronger at this point. Dooku is overwhelmed and killed, cut down before he can undo what he's already helped set into motion. Sidious survives, and with Dooku now gone, Palpatine is forced to change his plans completely. Dooku was meant to be the public face of the Separatist movement, a former Jedi, a political idealist, someone who could rally the systems against the Republic, while keeping everything controlled behind the scenes for the Sith. Losing him creates a major problem in Palpatine's plan, but it also forces him to reconsider something else. Up to this point, Maul is believed to be dead on Naboo, but without Dooku, Palpatine begins to question that assumption. Maul was trained for survival, he was fueled by rage, and if anyone could have survived that, it would have been Maul. Palpatine searches for him, eventually he finds him. He is broken and unstable, he's a maniac. Barely alive on a forgotten world, sustained by anger alone. Instead of discarding him, Palpatine does something completely different. He brings Maul to Mother Talzin. Here, Talzin and the Night Sisters restore Maul fully, body and mind, reforging him into a weapon worthy of the Sith once again. Maul emerges changed, scarred, and focused, no longer just an assassin, but a figurehead shaped entirely by vengeance. Palpatine takes Maul back as his apprentice, but Maul is not Count Dooku. Where Dooku was calculated and political, Maul is direct and brutal. He doesn't inspire loyalty throughout the Confederacy through ideology. He enforces obedience through fear. As a result, the Separatist movement still forms, but it looks completely different. It's more violent and far more openly threatening. Still, it's enough though. The galaxy responds the same way it does in canon. Fear spreads, the Senate starts to panic, and Palpatine is granted emergency powers by Darth Jar Jar. The Battle of Geonosis still happens, the clone army is revealed, and the Clone Wars begin. Yoda senses it immediately.
Master Obi-Wan, not victory. The shroud of the dark side has fallen. Begun. The Clone War has.
By this point in the war, the Jedi are stretched thin. Yoda is off-world dealing with the Clone Wars. What's left of the Council on Coruscant is forced to act with limited resources. The breakthrough on the investigation of the Sith comes from a very unexpected source. During a Separatist operation, the Jedi recover a damaged Mechno chair once used by Viceroy Gunray. Embedded within its systems is a partial holographic transmission, distorted, fragmented, but unmistakable. The image before them is Darth Sidious. The transmission doesn't reveal his true identity, but it does reveal something else. It seems to be that there are repeated movements through Coruscant's underlevels, references to locations that don't exist on public record. That's where we go to the place known as the Works. It's an abandoned industrial sector on Coruscant, known for its manufacturing history, and with it, beneath the city, is abandoned transit routes left behind that expand upward, places that no one pays attention to anymore. Mace Windu leads the investigation, joined by Qui-Gon Jinn and Anakin Skywalker. Obi-Wan is off-world, and Yoda remains away due to the war. There's no full task force. Just enough Jedi to quietly follow the trail without alerting the Sith. As they move through the labyrinth, the picture becomes clearer. Sidious isn't hiding off-world, he's been hiding in Coruscant itself. The routes line up, hidden access points, private lifts, secure passages, masked as infrastructure. Someone powerful has been moving through the city unseen. Every path leads upward. out of the underlevels, out of the works, toward the upper districts of Coruscant, towards the place known as 500 Republica. By the time the Jedi emerge from the labyrinth, the implication is impossible to ignore. The Sith Lord they've been hunting hasn't just been close to Republic's leadership, he's been operating from the very center, and for the first time the Jedi realize they aren't chasing a shadow across the galaxy, they're standing directly beneath it. By the time the Jedi emerge from the labyrinth, they know the Sith Lord is operating out of 500 Republica, but this alone isn't enough. The building houses hundreds of senators, aides, and staff. There's no clear way to identify which individual the Sith has been hiding behind, so they keep following the trail. Subtle details start to matter. Access routes that don't match public schedules, security overrides that appear and disappear without records, patterns in movement that don't belong to any ordinary senator. Eventually, those patterns converge. They lead not just to 500 Republica, but specifically Chancellor Palpatine's private office. That's when everything finally comes together. The war, Naboo, the emergency powers, Geonosis, all of it traces back to Chancellor Palpatine. At this point, there's no room for doubt, no time to wait. Qui-Gon Jinn, Mace Windu, and Anakin act immediately. They confront Palpatine in his office. There's no long exchange, no attempt at deception. Palpatine drops the pretense almost instantly. He doesn't deny what he is, he simply accepts that his game is over. The fight that follows is fast and contained. Tearing through the office and spilling into adjacent chambers, Mace Windu presses Palpatine head on, drawing on his mastery of a pad to meet the Sith's aggression directly. Anakin supports him, matching Palpatine's speed and power in ways few Jedi ever could. Qui-Gon fights alongside them, steady and precise, but he's the least physically dominant of the three. Where he excels in awareness and control, Palpatine overwhelms him with raw force and speed. Qui-Gon is ultimately struck down. Qui-Gon's death isn't chaotic or emotional, it buys time and creates an opening. Mace and Anakin push forward together, forcing Palpatine onto the defense. This isn't the situation Palpatine engineered in canon. There's no isolation, no manipulation, no emotional pressure point to exploit, and Anakin doesn't break. He doesn't hesitate in this timeline. He doesn't act out of fear or desperation. The lessons Qui-Gon taught him matter here. Anakin stays focused, and he doesn't fight to save anyone. He fights to end the threat right in front of him. Working in sync with Mace, Anakin finally overwhelms Palpatine. When the opening comes, Anakin takes it cleanly and decisively. Palpatine is killed, and Palpatine's death doesn't end the war overnight though. The Separatists don't immediately collapse, and the Republic doesn't suddenly find peace. What it does lose, however, is its direction. Because Sidious wasn't just a Sith Lord, he was the architect holding everything together. Without him, the conflict begins to unravel. Eventually, the Jedi trace what's left of the Separatist command back to Darth Maul. Maul is confronted by Anakin, and Maul is killed. With both Sith Lords gone, the war has no one left to sustain it. The Separatist leadership fractures, systems surrender, the Clone War ends. The Republic emerges victorious. The Jedi Order survives, but it doesn't pretend nothing went wrong. The Council finally understands where it failed in ignoring the living force and mistaking control for balance. They abandon their dogma, they change how they train, and they follow the path Qui-Gon Jinn once walked alone, and Anakin Skywalker becomes the one he was always meant to be. So that's what if Qui-Gon trained Anakin Skywalker, but there's still a major part in the timeline that we never talked about, that being Order 66. That's part 2 of the story. If you want to see it, let me know by commenting part 2, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, it genuinely helps more than you think. And if you like Star Wars what ifs and Star Wars lore, make sure you subscribe. Do it.